I managed to win over my high-maintenance boyfriend. But things aren't going as expected. After a year of dating, I still haven't had my first kiss. He seems to have a cold personality. I slipped into his bed only to find a soft, fluffy tail behind him. Looking at his strange red eyes, I was stunned. 1. Lately, I've been feeling troubled. After years of effort, I finally got together with my high-maintenance boyfriend, Byran. Now, under the envious gazes of many girls, I am proudly his girlfriend. I thought I could finally embrace Byran freely, roll around on him like I've wanted to for so long, and have a sweet romance. But things aren't going as planned. Byran is too indifferent toward me. When we're together, it's always me chirping away like a little bird. I keep trying to find topics to talk about, to keep the conversation going. Byran rarely speaks, and if he does, it's just a few simple words. He doesn't reject me when I hold his hand or cuddle up to him, but he never takes the initiative. Sometimes, I feel like I'm dating a robot who only knows how to respond but has no feelings. I called my best friend, who is in a blissful relationship, and subtly described my situation. She bluntly asked, "Maybe he doesn't like you?" That sentence hit me like a brick. Could it be that Byran doesn't like me? Once that idea planted itself in my mind, I couldn't shake it. I imagined a tragic love story in my head all night, and the next day, I woke up with puffy, red eyes. Looking at myself in the mirror, I resembled a little crybaby who'd been dumped. "Ran, want to go to the movies tonight?" I texted him, hitting send. Byran rarely initiates conversations with me, all our dates are my doing. Thinking about that only made me sadder. "Okay," he replied a few minutes later. He never says much, even when he does reply. I angrily punched my stuffed crocodile, but still texted back. "See you tonight." With a cute emoji. 2. In the cinema, the movie played on, but my mind was elsewhere. My eyes kept drifting to Byran, who sat beside me. My fingers inched closer to his hand on the armrest, and I finally grabbed it. Byran turned his head to look at me for a moment, then shifted his gaze back to the screen. I played with his hand like a bored child, squeezing his palm, twisting his fingers, interlacing our fingers. Byran let me mess with his hand the whole time without reacting at all. Frustrated, I let go and grabbed my ice-cold soda, trying to cool down my disappointment. After the movie ended, I resisted the urge to reach for his hand. While we walked, I kept staring at his hand, wondering why he wouldn't take the initiative to hold mine. Grinding my teeth against the straw, I felt miserable. Finally, Byran broke the silence. "What's wrong?" I looked at the face I'd admired for years with a sense of grievance. I'd worked so hard to win him over, and after a year of dating, he was still so distant. "Why won't you hold my hand?" Byran frowned, seemingly puzzled by my question. "You can hold my hand. I don't want to have to be the one to do it all the time. Can't you just take the initiative?" I snapped, frustrated. My anger reached its peak when he didn't even try to understand my feelings. I stormed past him, refusing to look back, waiting for him to come after me. Just as I was about to give in and turn around, his hand grasped mine tightly. Looking up at Byran walking beside me, his warm hand holding mine, all my anger melted away. He does care about me, after all. Later that night, I excitedly told my best friend that Byran had finally held my hand. "He does care about me," I insisted. "But wasn't it only after you asked him to do it?" My best friend pointed out. "What's the difference? It's still you who had to make the first move." The smile on my face faded. She was right, I had to spell it out for him. "Don't be fooled by his good looks," she warned. "You need to confront him directly." After the call ended, I couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, I realized Byran had never actually said, "I love you." When I confessed my feelings back then, all he said was, "Okay." But if he doesn't love me, why did he agree to date me? And if he does, why is he so cold? Ugh, this is driving me crazy. 3. After my elective class today, my roommate, Xiao Tong, suddenly grabbed my arm. "What's up?" I asked. "Lamo, look, your boyfriend is flirting," she said, pointing. My heart clenched when I saw Byran talking to a girl I didn't recognize in the hallway. They went downstairs together, and Xiao Tong started giving me a play-by-play. "She's taller than you. Her chest is bigger than yours. Her legs are longer. She's sexier." Each comment stabbed me in the heart. The girl was tall, with long legs, an hourglass figure, wavy hair, and a beautiful face with enchanting eyes. Red alert. I shot Xiao Tong a glare, and she patted my shoulder, trying to console me. "She may be sexy, but she's not as cute as you. You're the sweet little flower, not some sultry vamp," she said. "Go and stake your claim." I took a deep breath, straightened my posture, and marched over. "Ran," I called, diving into his arms with a beaming smile. "Who's this?" the girl asked, her eyes lingering on me. "I'm his girlfriend," I said, flashing a sweet but defiant smile. The girl laughed, turning to Byran. "I'll see you later." "Your girlfriend is adorable," she said with a wink. Wait, what? Was she mocking me? "Why didn't you text me when you got here?" Byran asked, pulling me out of his embrace. I was fuming. "Who is she?" "My cousin." He answered calmly. Oh. Embarrassment washed over me as I realized I'd just acted jealous over his cousin. This was my first time meeting his family, and I'd made such a fool of myself. "Why didn't you tell me you had a cousin?" I asked. "You never asked." Ugh. I felt so silly. "Would you like to meet my family?" he suddenly asked, catching me off guard. "What? When are you free to meet them?" Byran's question left me stunned. "He wants to introduce me to his family." 4. I paced back and forth in my dorm, both thrilled and nervous. Meeting Byran's family, it must mean he really cares about me, right? I couldn't contain my excitement and called my best friend, but she shot down my joy in a heartbeat. "Don't go," she said. "Why not?" "He hasn't met your parents yet, has he? You shouldn't be the one to go to his place first." "But I did chase after him first," I admitted. "I'm the one who wanted him." "Ugh, you're hopeless," she sighed. "But I didn't care. I like him, so why does it matter who makes the first move?" I hung up and started browsing for outfits online, eventually falling asleep with my phone in hand. On Saturday, I dragged Byran out shopping. "What do you think of this dress?" I asked, twirling in a white dress adorned with pink flowers. "Good," he said, barely glancing at it. I puffed out my cheeks, telling myself to calm down. He probably thinks I look good in anything, that's why he's always so nonchalant. We bought some accessories, and as we walked, Byran carried all the bags without complaint. "Let me help," I offered, but he shook his head. "It's fine, they're not heavy," he said. I nodded, feeling warm inside. Byran is so considerate, how could he not like me? Chapter 5. Weekend, outside the By family residence. I blinked with my eyes that had never seen such luxury. The By family home was so extravagant. Calling it a villa felt too modest. This was an estate. My own family background was decent, but compared to the By family, it was like comparing a small puddle to the ocean. From the entrance to the house, I looked around curiously, observing everything. Then, I noticed something peculiar. There were many buildings with fox designs carved into them. I didn't think much about it, as my mind was entirely focused on my anxiety about meeting the family in a bit. When we reached the front of the house, I nervously twisted the hem of my white dress. I grabbed Byran's hand, following him inside. As soon as we entered, I instinctively tightened my grip on Byran's fingers, which made him glance down at me. Before coming here, I had mentally prepared myself, imagining all kinds of scenarios. But I never imagined there would be so many members of Byran's family. In the spacious, traditionally decorated living room, there were dozens of people, either sitting or standing. The moment we walked in, all eyes turned to us, and the weight of their gazes nearly made my knees buckle. Byron led me to his family and introduced us. "These are my family members. And this is Liamo, my girlfriend." He kept it short and to the point. "Hello everyone, I'm Liamo." I quickly greeted them, echoing Byron's words. My hands were shaking from nerves. He hadn't mentioned there would be so many family members here. Sitting on a wooden chair in the living room, I kept my back straight, my posture proper and ladylike, with a faint smile on my lips. I had to make a good impression. But the hard wooden chair was uncomfortable, and my cheeks ached from holding the smile. I was crying inside. From the conversation, I learned some basic information about Byron's family. He was the only child, but the extended family was large, with nearly everyone present. I encouraged myself, thinking, Byron must really value me. He not only wanted me to meet his parents, but also introduced me to his entire family. He really does love me. Sitting close to Byron gave me a sense of security. Among the unfamiliar faces, I noticed one familiar face smiling and nodding at me. It was a cousin I'd seen at school. I blushed awkwardly under her smile. I realized that the Bai family had strong genes. Every member was attractive, even the older elders had a noble air about them. You could still see traces of their youthful beauty. The most striking feature was their eyes, long and narrow, with slightly upturned corners. They all looked remarkably similar. Chapter 6. I stayed for dinner at the Bai family house. The courtyard was filled with tables, and it felt like I was attending my own wedding banquet. A traditional Chinese wedding would be quite nice someday. I glanced at Byron by my side, and my face flushed with the thought. Dinner was abundant and delicious, except. When I looked around, I noticed that every table had multiple dishes made with chicken. Usually, you wouldn't see the same dish repeated at a feast. But the Bai family was different, and everyone seemed to really enjoy the chicken dishes. I leaned closer to Byron and whispered, "Does your family have a particular fondness for chicken?" The moment I said that, there was a sudden silence. I realized everyone's eyes were now focused on me, and I nervously gripped Byron's arm. Did I say that too loudly? Why did everyone hear me? Did I say something wrong? Byron paused with his chopsticks in midair, turning slightly with his usual calm expression. But his eyes, usually so composed, seemed to ripple slightly. Chapter 7. Is that strange? Byron asked, his tone flat. But his presence felt wrapped in an invisible pressure. I felt goosebumps rise on my arms. At that moment, I vaguely sensed that Byron was different from usual. But as always, I didn't think too much about it. No, not at all. What's so strange about it? I love chicken too, chicken eggs, chicken gizzards, chicken feet. I counted off on my fingers, smiling at Byron. Our taste in food is so similar, we're truly a perfect match. I looked at him with a face that said, right? We really are meant to be, right? After I said that, the atmosphere returned to normal. The sounds of clinking bowls and chopsticks and the laughter of Byron's family replaced the strange silence from moments ago. Everything seemed normal again. Byron picked up a piece of shredded chicken and put it in my mouth. If you like it, eat more. Byron was serving me food in front of his family. Blushing under their gazes, I chewed on the chicken in my mouth. I suddenly remembered my friend's relationship advice. Women who know how to act cute get the best treatment. So I said to Byron, I want more. Ran, can you give me some more, please? I looked at him with starry eyes, and he did. I ate happily. Chapter 8. After dinner, Byron was called away to talk with the elders. I wandered through the garden alone, and soon, I saw a cherry blossom tree in full bloom. The flowers were lush and covered the branches. Petals were falling continuously, like a painting. But it was early autumn. How could there be cherry blossoms? As I stood in amazement, a small stone hit the ground near my foot. I turned around to see a little boy who had popped out of nowhere. He was adorably dressed in a white shirt and suspenders. Those eyes clearly marked him as a relative of Byran. I crouched down to meet his eye level, greeting him in the friendliest tone, "Hello there. What's your name?" But the boy looked at me with a cold expression. My smile froze. "You're the human that Byran likes," he said. His voice was childlike, but his tone carried a hint of disdain. "See? This is why kids are brats." He even called me that human instead of that person. "Yes, I am the one Byran likes," I said proudly, lifting my chin. "Humph, ugly. Byran would never like someone like you. Ugly. Ugly. Ugly." It was the first time in my life someone called me ugly, and from a kid, no less. And he even doubted Byran's love for me. That hit my nerve. I was furious. I reached out my hands, prepared to teach this brat a lesson. But when I grabbed him and turned him around, I was stunned. The kid had a fluffy tail, just like Shippo from Inuyasha. He was so cute that I couldn't bring myself to scold him. The kid struggled, and out of curiosity, I gave his tail a gentle tug. The kid was stunned for a moment before bursting into loud sobs. Just as I was panicking, Byran appeared and held the child, comforting him. I stood there, embarrassed, stammering, I just touched his toy tail." Byran's initially tense expression softened a little at my words. He didn't get angry. Instead, he calmly held the crying boy and said, "Wait here, we'll head back to school soon." I nodded obediently. As I watched Byran walk away, I looked down at my palm. This family really is unique, even the kids' toys are so lifelike. The tail's texture felt so real. Byran returned shortly, and we got into the car that the By family arranged to take us back to school. As we were leaving, I looked at the gate of the By residence. I hadn't noticed it earlier, but now I saw that there were 2 stone foxes on either side of the entrance. "Ran, your family?" I turned to ask, but my face brushed against Byran's hair, and the scent made my heart skip a beat. I forgot my question. Byran helped me with my seatbelt, and as I looked at his handsome profile, I leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. I felt a rush of happiness. He paused for a second, then sat back in his seat, without a word. I was a bit let down. Wasn't this the moment when TV couples usually have romantic sparks? But look at Byran, he was like an unmoved iceberg. Pure and unyielding, showing no hint of emotion. I took out a plum candy from my pocket, and a cherry blossom petal fell onto the seat next to me. Looking at the flower, I paused. The brat earlier had thrown a stone at me because I'd plucked a cherry blossom. He said, "Ugly, don't touch Sister Tingyao's cherry blossom tree." And he also said, "Sister Tingyao is like a fairy, much prettier than you." For some reason, hearing that name made my heart feel uneasy. It was like being stung. I glanced at Byran, gently stroking the petal before putting it into my pocket. I popped a candy into my mouth, letting its sweet and sour taste spread over my tongue. No matter who this Tingyao is, Byran is mine. 9. In the dorm room, in front of my computer. I rested my face on my hand, staring blankly at Byran's wallpaper on the screen. It's been a month since I came back from Byran's house. Our interactions are still the same. Byran even introduced me to his family, so he must like me. But still, our relationship remains distant and cold. Last week, on Valentine's Day, I went on a date with Byran, and we came across an event at the mall. Couples who kissed could get a large shopping voucher for free and a set of branded skincare samples, while supplies lasted. With my family's financial situation, I wasn't interested in the freebies. I just wanted an excuse to get Byran to be affectionate with me. So, I eagerly pulled Byran to sign up. Byran refused and bluntly said, "Whatever you like, I'll buy it for you. We don't need these discounts, I have money." I was left speechless. Although I liked his domineering attitude toward me at that moment, it was totally the wrong timing. We've been together for almost a year, and my first kiss is still intact. Byran never takes the initiative, though he doesn't refuse when I hug or kiss him. But I have this obsession, I want Byran to be the one to initiate a kiss. I've held back countless times, feeling the urge to go for those lips, but suppressing the temptation. Today, too, I tried to find a reason, only to be blocked by Byran's words. I was fuming, trying to calm myself down. No worries, I still have plan B. Under the Ferris wheel, I subtly hinted to Byran. They say when a couple kisses at the top of the Ferris wheel, they'll receive blessings for eternal love. Byran's clear eyes reflected my flushed face, but he didn't say a word. As we got in line for the Ferris wheel, my heart started pounding from nervousness. Not because of a fear of heights, but out of excitement for the kiss at the top. The Ferris wheel slowly rose, and as we approached the top, I hinted, "We're almost there." I held Byran's hand, shyly anticipating. But Byran didn't do anything. My heart fell to the floor and shattered. Before, I could come up with endless excuses for him. But at that moment, I knew even a blockhead would understand my hint. Yet, Byran acted as if he didn't. My heart went cold, and my eyes turned red. After getting off the Ferris wheel, I ran away without saying a word. I hailed a cab and shut the door quickly, catching a glimpse of Byran chasing after me. I forced myself not to look. When I got back to school and stepped out of the car, tears started rolling down my cheeks. I walked while wiping away my tears. Then suddenly, I collided with an oncoming bicycle. The boy on the bike turned just in time, but he fell to the ground. Snapping out of my daze, I quickly helped him up. I'm sorry. Are you okay?" The boy, his face hidden under a baseball cap, looked up with a good-natured smile. "Seems like I've sprained my ankle." I froze. He was really good-looking, with a sunny, boyish charm, two cute canine teeth when he smiled, and eyes like a cool, aloof cat. "Hooey." The name slipped out of my mouth, surprising him. "You know me?" Of course, I knew him. Before I met Byran, he was someone I used to crush on. It was purely out of admiration for his looks. My true love is still Byran. "Yeah, I've seen your band perform." Hooey's band is famous at school, with talented and handsome members, adored by many fans. My roommates are all big fans of his. "Oh, I see." Hooey stood up with some difficulty, his left foot unsteady. Feeling guilty, I helped him to the infirmary. Hooey's ankle was bandaged up, this handsome guy turned into a limping one. I pulled out my phone. "I'll cover your medical expenses." He smiled at me and added my contact. I told him to send me the cost of each treatment, and I'd pay. Could I ask for a different kind of compensation? The doctor said I'll need to change the bandages 3 more times. Could you accompany me? Hooey sat on the white sheets, tilting his head slightly, smiling in such a sunny, innocent way that I was momentarily dazed. He was really adorably handsome. 10. In the short time I was daydreaming, the computer wallpaper changed again. It was still Byran's photo. A total face lover. But I've fallen only for him. I hugged my crocodile plush toy, squeezing it tightly. After the last date, when I came home crying, Byran sent me a message asking, "What's wrong?" I replied with 2 words. "Nothing." And that was it, no further follow-up. I cried again in frustration and decided to give him the silent treatment. I must be too clingy to Byran usually, that's why he doesn't appreciate me. This time, I must hold back, to make him realize I'm really angry. And now, it's been 7 days. I don't move. He doesn't move. What do I do? I miss Byran every day. In the evening, I couldn't resist and went to wait near Byran's dorm. After feeding several mosquitoes, I was ready to leave when I suddenly turned and bumped into a familiar embrace. Thinking of him, longing for him, being mad at him, all I wanted at that moment was to hold him. I hugged Byran, angry at my own weakness. I let go and looked at him. "Why didn't you look for me?" If I don't contact you, you won't even bother with me? Byran lowered his gaze, his emotions unreadable, as he took my swollen, mosquito-bitten arm. He took out a tube of ointment from somewhere and started applying it. I've been busy with some family matters lately, I didn't want to worry you. There it was again, a vague answer that didn't address my question. The ointment worked wonders, cooling and soothing the itch instantly. I looked at Byran, puzzled by his close yet distant attitude towards me. Ran, have you not been sleeping well lately? Your eyes are a bit red. The hint of red in his eyes seemed to catch him off guard at my remark. He lifted his head to the sky. A full moon peeked out from behind the clouds, hanging in the night sky. He quickly covered his eyes with his hand and said, I have something urgent to do. You should head back before curfew. Then he handed me the ointment and walked away quickly. Standing there holding the tube, I could smell a scent on Byran that wasn't his. I'm so familiar with his scent, I'd memorized it from all the times we've been close. I walked back feeling down, my mind buzzing with suspicion. Could it be that I have a rival in love? 11. I know that Byran has many admirers. But for someone to leave a scent on him, that's something else. I spent the entire night thinking it over, sleepless. The next morning, I got a message from Hui. Don't forget you promised to go with me to the infirmary for a bandage change. I suddenly remembered him. Oh no, I almost stood him up. I quickly got ready and went to meet Hui, taking him to the infirmary. While he was getting his bandages changed, I couldn't help but ask, will this injury affect your event next week? Event? Hui looked puzzled. I heard your band is the headliner for the school event next week, and you're supposed to dance too. Oh, that. Don't worry, it won't affect me. Hui gave me a reassuring smile, and I felt a little embarrassed. I heard your boyfriend is Byran? I nodded happily, yes, he is. That guy isn't exactly someone who knows how to cherish a girl. It must be tough for you to be with him. I nodded reluctantly, then asked him, do you know Byran too? Hui's eyes twinkled with mischief, yes, we're distant relatives. I was shocked, relatives? Family? How does everyone in Byran's family have such high looks? But Byran never mentioned it to me. After learning that he was related to Byran, I felt our relationship instantly get closer. I kept asking Hui about Byran, and he patiently answered me. Finally, I hesitantly asked, do you know who Tingyao is? He was drinking water, and when he heard the name, he suddenly looked up, a strange expression on his face. How do you know that name? I heard one of his relatives' kids mention that she's a great beauty, so I was just curious. Hui gave me a quirky smile, she is indeed a great beauty. He even emphasized the words great beauty. Hui added, she and Byran have quite a close relationship. I suddenly felt a huge sense of crisis. 12. Since the last encounter outside the dorm, Byran has mysteriously disappeared again. When I asked, he said it was due to family matters, but didn't go into any details. He left me alone with my thoughts, making me anxious and uncertain. My roommates, unable to watch me wallow any longer, dragged me out to join the school event to watch the performances. There are plenty of handsome guys in the world, don't get hung up on just one, they said. Come on, let's go see some good-looking guys. They kept talking on the way, giving me all sorts of advice, and I just nodded absent-mindedly. The headline act on stage was Hui's band, and the moment he appeared, my friends started screaming like crazy. I covered my ears and slipped backstage. I planned to ask Hui if he knew what Byran was busy with after his performance. After waiting for a bit, Hui finally came down from the stage. I waved at him, but he walked right past me as if he didn't see me. I stood there in shock, did he not see me? Could it be that he's severely nearsighted and forgot to wear his contacts today? I chased after him, calling his name. He turned around with a blank expression on his face. Excuse me, no autographs, no photos, no WeChat ads. I already have a partner, and I'm not interested in backups. Hui blurted out, crossing his arms in front of his chest. I was dumbfounded. I'm Mo. I said, feeling that my appearance today shouldn't have changed that much. Miss, I know I'm charming, but I have my principles. Just give up, he said as he hurried away, leaving me bewildered. What was that all about? Did he lose his memory? On my way back, I couldn't make sense of it. Then, I saw my roommate watching a drama about a character with multiple personalities, and I had an epiphany. Could it be that Hui has a split personality? Now that I think about it, his behavior was indeed different today. I became more convinced of my theory. 13. The next day, I saw Hui outside the dormitory. He was on his bike, smiling brightly. Thinking he might have a personality disorder. I couldn't help but feel a bit of sympathy. I wondered if he even knew about it. What are you doing here? I asked as I approached him. You messaged me last night, asking about what Byran was busy with, remember? He said. I recalled the message I sent him, which he hadn't replied to. You know what he's been up to? I perked up at the mention of Byran. Well, it seems like he's dealing with a health issue. A health issue? Are you saying he's sick? I asked, feeling a bit alarmed. Hui adjusted his cap, gave me a mischievous smile, and beckoned me closer. As I leaned in to hear what he had to say, someone suddenly pulled me away. Byran had appeared out of nowhere, grabbing my arm as he stared coldly at Hui. I threw my arms around him, ran. Hey, Hui greeted Byran with a wave. Byran looked at him and said, stay away from Mo. Why are you so tense? I didn't do anything or say anything, Hui said innocently, raising his hands in a mock surrender. I just wanted to see who could make the Ice King's heart melt. Don't show up in front of her again, Byran said, pulling me away. I looked at the two of them, confused. Weren't they supposed to be relatives? Why did it seem like they were on the verge of arguing? If you really want to be with her, some things can't stay hidden forever, Hui called out, making Byran tighten his grip on my hand. I looked back at Hui, who gave me a wink and said, next time, I'll introduce you to a real beauty. Watching Hui pedal away, I looked at Byran's somewhat gloomy face with concern. Ran, do you not get along with him? Byran looked at me and said, it's not that. Not that? Then why did it seem like they were about to fight? Byran's cold eyes met mine, and he said, from now on, don't meet with him or stay in contact, okay? Why? I asked, puzzled. Then a thought occurred to me, and I smiled. Ran, are you jealous? Don't worry, Ran. I only like you. I said, holding on to his arm. Then I remembered something and gasped, Ran, are you sick? Hui just said you have health problems. I'm fine. He was just talking nonsense, Byran replied. Are you sure? I examined Byran from head to toe, but didn't notice anything unusual. I silently decided to ask Hui for more details later. 14. Although Byran said he was fine, I noticed during our subsequent dates that his face seemed to grow paler each time. I was really worried about him. I texted Hui from my dorm room, asking for more information, and waited for his reply. As I waited, my phone suddenly rang. The moment I answered, I heard Xiao Tong's anxious voice. Mo, something serious is happening. Come to the school gate now. Byran is having dinner with another girl. My mind went blank for a moment before I rushed to put on my shoes and headed out. By the time I arrived at the spot, panting, I could see Xiao Tong waving at me furiously from a distance. When I got closer, she pulled me behind a tree to hide. They looked really close, she said, talking quickly. I overheard them saying they're going to Byran's house later. That statement hit me like a ton of bricks. I followed Xiao Tong's gaze and saw Byran with the girl. My vision blurred for a moment. She was stunning, her features so exquisite that it was hard to look away. I forced myself to stay calm. Maybe she was just a relative of his. I watched as they got into a car I knew was from Byran's family. I stood there, not knowing what to think. Liamo, wake up. You can't just stand there like that, Xiaotong urged. I tried to rationalize, maybe she's just a relative. No way. I saw that girl almost kiss Bai Ran's face, and he barely stopped her, Xiaotong said, making my heart clench. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Hui. Are you free? Come to Bai Ran's house. I'll introduce you to a real beauty. Looking at the message and recalling the girl I'd just seen, I wondered if she was the beauty Hui mentioned. I was feeling confused, but I made up my mind. Who is she, and what is her relationship with Bai Ran? I'll go to his house to find out. 15. Sitting in the car, my mind was a mess. I imagined all kinds of dramatic scenarios, each one worse than the last. When I finally arrived at Bai Ran's house, I stared at the familiar fox statue at the gate, rubbing my eyes. Did I just see the fox's eyes move? While I was still confused, a butler suddenly appeared at the entrance. His silent arrival startled me. The butler had silver hair, wore a modern Chinese black outfit, and had a fixed smile on his face. I'd seen him before when I visited Bai Ran's house last time, and he remembered me. Miss Liamo, what brings you here? He asked. I'm here to see Bai Ran and to greet everyone, I said nervously. The butler remained silent for a moment, which made me feel uneasy. Today is a bit inconvenient. Maybe you could visit another time, he said, turning me away. Rejected. It felt like a bolt of lightning had struck me. Was Bai Ran really hiding something with that girl? My eyes welled up with tears as I shakily dialed Bai Ran's number. Hello, came his cool voice as he quickly answered. I'm at your gate, I said, my voice cracking a little. Wait for me. The butler kept his smile fixed. It was already dark, and staring at him for too long gave me the creeps. In less than 5 minutes, Bai Ran appeared. I knew how vast his family's property was, so I didn't think too much of how quickly he showed up. Maybe he was nearby. Why are you crying? Bai Ran asked, wiping away my tears with his fingers. I came to find you, but I couldn't get in, I said, feeling wronged. Bai Ran glanced at the butler, who bowed slightly and then stepped back. 16. I followed Bai Ran into the Bai family home, keeping my head down. I didn't directly ask about the other girl. Bai Ran seemed to have something on his mind as well, even more silent than usual. When we entered the living room, a group of beautiful people of various ages looked at me in shock. It was like I was an uninvited guest. The atmosphere turned strange, and even I, with my usually thick nerves, could sense the abnormal expressions on their faces. In a matter of seconds, my mind pieced together a dramatic scene. Bai Ran secretly brought another girl home, and now that I've followed him, his family, feeling like they're in a battlefield of emotions, has switched from their previous welcoming curiosity to stunned and flustered. Among the crowd, I saw that girl. Our eyes met, and she walked toward me. I felt like I was facing an enemy, my nerves on edge like a cat ready to pounce. The girl looked me up and down, noticing my tense posture, and a sly look flashed in her eyes. Then, she grabbed Bai Ran's arm right in front of me. In a sweet voice, she said, Bai Ran, who is this? An arrow straight to my heart. Bai Ran frowned and pulled his hand back. This is Liamo, my girlfriend. This is Ji. Before Bai Ran could finish his sentence, the girl cut in, Hello Liamo, I'm Ting Yao, an old family friend of Bai Ran's. Family friend? So, a childhood sweetheart. So the beautiful woman is her, she's Ting Yao. Before I could snap out of my dramatic thoughts, Ting Yao smiled and opened her arms to me. Oh, so you're Liamo. Faced with such friendly affection, I didn't know what to do, and then a force pulled me back. I was pulled into Bai Ran's embrace, causing Chiyu to miss her mark. Bai Ran's gaze at her carried a warning, but she simply smiled, looking quite pleased with herself. I had dinner at Bai Ran's house. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Bai Ran's family seemed different today, with a hint in their words that they wanted me to leave as soon as possible. I tugged on Bai Ran's sleeve. Let's go back to school together. I'm not going back today, I'll have someone drive you. I glanced at Ting Yao, who wasn't leaving either. Then I'll go with Ting Yao. I couldn't let her be alone with Bairan. I'm staying the night, Ting Yao said, winking at me. Then I'll stay too. I'm also staying over, I said, glaring at Ting Yao, refusing to back down. I sat down with a look that said I wasn't going anywhere. Bairan's gaze turned cold, and he shot Ting Yao a look of suppressed displeasure. Ting Yao just kept smiling cheerfully. 17. Under my insistence, Bairan agreed to let me stay. He arranged a guest room for me, but I wanted to be in the room next to Ting Yao's so I could keep an eye on her. Bairan coldly refused, finally placing me in the room next to his. At 10 p.m., Bairan walked me to my room and even brought me a glass of milk. Drink some milk, it'll help you sleep. I took the milk, feeling overjoyed. Bairan was being so considerate. Bairan stared straight at me. Why aren't you drinking it? I didn't actually like plain milk, but I didn't want to ruin the rare warmth Bairan was showing, so I gave a guilty smile. I'll drink it after I wash up. After closing the door, I poured the milk into the sink. I've never liked plain milk since I was a child. I muttered a quiet apology. Half an hour later, there was a knock on my door. It was Bairan. Did you drink the milk? I nodded. Give me the glass. I handed him the empty cup. Under the soft hallway light, Bairan's skin looked as cold as snow, his lips red like blood, with a faint redness at the corners of his eyes. Tonight, Bairan's aura seemed different. With an unusual allure. I was spellbound. My heart pounded faster for him, and I stood on tiptoes to kiss his cheek. Quickly saying, "Good night." Then I shut the door, leaning against it with my face burning up. I let out a breath. Just now, Bairan was too captivating. I admit I'm superficial and smitten. Climbing into bed, I closed my eyes with a smile. An hour later, I opened my eyes. I couldn't sleep. The room was as dark as ink. I turned over. In the faint light coming through the curtain's gap, I grabbed my phone off the bedside table. It was exactly midnight. Turning off my phone's light, I tried to go back to sleep. Suddenly, I heard a strange sound outside, like an animal's call. Curiosity got the best of me, so I got out of bed and opened the curtains. I was stunned. I blinked, in disbelief at the sight before me. In the moonlight, I saw a blood-red full moon with a faint red mist covering the ground. I rubbed my eyes hard to make sure it wasn't an illusion. I even pinched myself, ouch, not a dream. I left my room and knocked on Bairan's door. No answer, and the hallway was silent. Outside, the strange animal sound came again, eerie in the quiet night. I've always been brave, in haunted houses, where others come out shaky, I always want to go again. After hesitating for a moment, I walked down the stairs to the courtyard. I wandered aimlessly until I reached a high wall, almost as if led by some instinct. Without thinking, I reached out, and my hand went right through the wall. Taking a step forward, I vanished on the spot. After a moment of darkness, my vision cleared. The scene in front of me was breathtaking. I was so shocked that I couldn't move. I saw a wide-open field, and 100 meters away, under the red moon, a group of foxes was worshipping it. At the center was a 9-tailed white fox, seemingly leading some kind of ritual. The next moment, the 9-tailed white fox turned its head towards me, its bewitching eyes locking onto mine. My heart jumped to my throat, and then everything went dark as I passed out. 18. At the break of dawn, I jolted awake in bed. I rubbed my groggy head, my memories scattered. Was that a dream? My head hurt a little. There are too many fox decorations in Bairan's house, making me dream all kinds of weird things. Fully awake, I decided not to go back to sleep. Leaving my room, I noticed Bairan's door was slightly ajar. I knocked, and a hoarse male voice answered, "Who is it?" "It's Liamo, Aran. Can I come in?" After a long silence, he replied, "Come in." Byran's room was simple, with a gray bed, and Byran was leaning shirtless against the headboard. Faced with this sight, I couldn't help swallowing hard. Byran looked at me. "What's wrong?" His hair was damp, and he looked a bit weak. "I saw your door was open." "Aran, are you sick?" I sat down on the bed and touched his forehead. His temperature was normal, no fever. "A bit unwell, but it's nothing. It's still early. You should rest some more." My eyes twinkled, and without warning, I lifted Byran's blanket and quickly slipped under it. With an innocent look, I said, "Then I'll stay here and keep you company, since you're not feeling well." This was a rare opportunity to lie in Byran's bed. Byran's body stiffened slightly, and he rubbed his temples. "There's a difference between men and women, this isn't appropriate." "What's wrong with it?" "I'm your girlfriend." I muttered, "We're not doing anything bad." I kicked the blanket, trying to cover my feet. "Wait." I tilted my head. I felt something fluffy with my foot. I reached under the blanket and grabbed onto something soft and furry, and then I quickly sat up, lifting the blanket. A tail? I saw a soft, fluffy white tail. And I was holding its fur. My brain short-circuited for a few seconds, and last night's dream flashed vividly before me, filling my mind with an absurd idea. Looking at Byran, I hesitantly asked, "Is this real?" Byran's expression was calm. "Yes. Last night, I dreamt of a group of foxes worshipping the moon." Before I could finish, Byran said, "That wasn't a dream." I tried to process the overwhelming information. "My boyfriend is not human, he's a fox spirit." 19. "You didn't have to hide it, now you've been caught red-handed," a female voice came from the bookshelf in the room. Ting Yao stepped out of a hidden compartment. I was shocked, standing up in a flash, angrily pointing at her. "Why is she in your room? Even if you're a demon, that doesn't give you the right to cheat." Byran was momentarily stunned and then slowly said, "You don't mind that I'm a demon?" "I don't care if you're human or demon, you're not allowed to break up or cheat." I was so angry that tears welled up in my eyes. Ting Yao was not only in his room but also knew Byran's true identity. Byran looked at me and suddenly smiled, like the sun melting the snow in early spring. Since I met him, he rarely smiled, always as cold as a snowman. I stared at him through my tears, momentarily forgetting my anger. "Being this old, and still getting jealous of you youngsters," Ting Yao said with a slightly envious look, then her form flickered. In front of me now stood a tall, mature man with a warm, gentle smile, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. My worldview was crumbling and reforming. I looked at Byran in confusion, pointing shakily at the person in front of me. "He is the thousand-faced fox," Byran said, standing behind me, patting my dazed head. "His name is Chi Yu, and he enjoys transforming into various people. Ting Yao is the name of the form I just took. I have a name for every face." Chi Yu explained to me. I remembered the little fox's words, he seemed quite serious when he spoke, not joking. But, why did that kid? Before I could finish, Chi Yu burst into laughter. He didn't know Ting Yao was me. I was just teasing him. It'll be fun to see his reaction when he finds out. Chi Yu explained that the identity of Ting Yao was specifically created to prank the young ones in their clan, and almost every junior had been tricked by him. I looked over at Byran, and Chi Yu added, "He was easy to fool when he was young too. I once planted a cherry blossom tree and told him that when it blossomed, he would meet his destined one. He took it seriously and cared for that tree diligently." As Chi Yu spoke, a book flew out and landed at his feet. "Shut up," Byran said coldly. Chi Yu shrugged, he's not cute at all now that he's grown up." 20. Dazed, I accepted the fact that Byran's family were fox demons. Chi Yu told me that Byran had been practicing a specific cultivation technique since he was young, living like an ascetic monk. This technique, he said, required emotional restraint. Simply put, he couldn't have strong emotional fluctuations and needed to maintain a calm mind at all times. Last night marked a crucial point in his cultivation, and I had unknowingly disrupted it by witnessing that scene instead of drinking the spiked milk. I always thought this block of wood would live alone forever, but it turns out he has feelings for you. Due to his cultivation, he's distant from everyone, and he doesn't know how to interact with people. It's actually a good match for you, with your simple-mindedness and persistence. I retorted, I'm not stubborn like some chewing gum, it's called love. Don't talk circles around me, making fun of me. I glared at Chiyu, then turned to Byran. So that's why he always seemed so cold, was being with me affecting his cultivation? I buried my face in his chest, mumbling, am I dragging down your cultivation? Is your weakness my fault? Don't overthink. I'm fine, Byran said, stroking my head to comfort me. Chiyu coughed from the side, are you two done being all lovey-dovey? I'm still here. He said Byran's body was weak and needed to rest. Though I wanted to stay, I feared disturbing his recovery, so I reluctantly left. Chiyu escorted me downstairs, and I asked, by the way, where's Hui? Does he know that Tingyao is you? Chiyu gave me a mysterious smile, then transformed in a flash into Hui. I was shocked, grabbing the railing for support to steady myself. Hui is also you. Chiyu stroked his chin, no, Hui is a junior from our clan. I only took on his appearance to meet you. It's easier to borrow someone's identity when they're family. It turns out Hui wasn't suffering from multiple personalities, the real Hui didn't even know me. He had no idea that his unreliable elder had been using his identity. That's why he had looked so bewildered when he saw me backstage at the performance. My emotions had been a roller coaster all day. Just as I was calming down, Chiyu changed faces again. I stared at the mature man beside me, remembering the charming girl he'd turned into before. Curious, I asked, why do you like transforming into a girl? The elegant man gave me a devilish smile. Young one, haven't you heard of the term crossdresser? Lesson learned. 21. Byran stayed at home to recover for 7 days. On the day he returned to school, I rushed into his arms. I missed him every day. That day also happened to be Chiyu's birthday. In the evening, Byran took me to Chiyu's house. When the door opened, I was stunned. Standing there was a tall, muscular man wearing a black tank top and ripped jeans, with a scar between his eyebrows. He looked like a tough guy you wouldn't want to mess with. I immediately hid behind Byran, peeking out slightly. Byran explained, this is Chiyu. What you're seeing now is his true form. I stared at the rugged man, grinning at me, showing off his sharp white teeth, and was stunned. That phrase, crossdresser, echoed in my mind. Truly, appearances can be deceiving. Inside the house, I saw some unfamiliar faces. They were all fox demons. I was the only human and stood out like a sore thumb. Everyone was friendly, and I even saw the little boy from before. He still had that proud look on his face and turned away when he saw me. Humph, silly kid. I'll let it slide this time. He doesn't know that his goddess, Tingyao, is actually that rough-looking guy. 22. An hour later, I was drunk. I was tugging at the little fox, petting its tail. The little fox struggled to escape my grasp, crying for help. I chased the little brat around the room while he yelled in distress. Byran tried to calm me down, persuading me to go home. I refused. I want the tail. Finally, Byran said, I'll give you the tail if you come home with me. That worked like a charm. Chiyu, holding a cigarette in his mouth, laughed wickedly. It's too late to return to school now, he said. He tossed Byran a set of keys. I own all the units on this floor. You two can stay in the one across the hall tonight. Byran led me to the apartment across the hall, and I obediently followed. As soon as we entered, I started feeling him up. Where's the tail? Where's the tail? Byran grabbed my restless hands, his voice hoarse and breathing a little uneven. Limo, stop fooling around. I looked at him with tears streaming down my face. You lied to me. You're always cold to me, you won't even kiss me, and now you won't let me touch your tail. I've been practicing a fox demon cultivation technique since childhood. It requires restraint and control. It's not that I'm cold to you, I'm just holding myself back. I'm afraid that once I give in, I won't be able to stop. Byran gently wiped the tears from my flushed face. You promised me the tail, I insisted, looking at him with teary eyes. Byran let out a helpless yet tender smile. All right, I'll give you the tail. I watched as Byran's eyes turned a shade of red. In the next moment, 9 long white tails extended from his back, gently swaying in the air. Then they surrounded me like a cocoon, wrapping me in their softness. I happily stroked the silky fur, hugging one of the tails to my chest and rubbing my face against it. While I was lost in the sensation, Byran called my name, Liam. His usually cold face was now filled with an enchanting charm. I looked at him and said what I wanted most, I want to kiss you. Then he cupped my chin, and his lips met mine. 23. The next morning, I woke up and angrily pounded the bed. Last night, Byran kissed me, and even now, the memory of that tender moment still makes my cheeks flush. But I actually fell asleep while kissing him. Fell asleep. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Byran was sleeping in the next room. He got up early and was just waiting for me to wake up. We had breakfast, then headed back to school together. I was feeling so down the whole way. Such a perfect moment and opportunity last night, and I just slept through it. I was so drunk that my first kiss didn't even feel clear. I was really mad at myself. As we passed by the fairy lake on campus, I saw an elderly couple, both professors, holding hands as they walked by. Watching them, I could feel their sweetness and happiness. Suddenly, I was struck by a thought. What's wrong? Byran asked softly. I grabbed his arm in panic. If I grow old and ugly one day, and eventually pass away, will you still stay young and live forever? I'd always ignored the difference between us. He's a demon, and I'm human. He'll stay young forever, while I'll grow old and wither away. Wouldn't that make me like his grandma? How terrifying. Don't worry, I'll grow old with you. Every life has its limit. I can't defy the heavens to change your fate and give you eternal life. But in your next life, I'll come find you again, though I'm afraid you might not love me then. Byran held me tightly, soothing my fear and anxiety. Gradually, my emotions settled down. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about the next life. That's too far away, not something I should be worrying about right now. As long as I live this life well, with Byran by my side, I'm already content. I lifted my head from Byran's embrace. With such a handsome face, even if he ages, he'll still be good-looking. Thanks to his family's elders, I already got a glimpse of how he might look in the future. I stared at his lips, rosy and inviting, then stood on tiptoe and clumsily pressed my lips to his, awkwardly nibbling at them. And I ended up biting my own tongue. I gasped in pain. Byran laughed out loud, and my face flushed as I buried myself in his chest. Feeling embarrassed by his laughter, I vengefully bit his collarbone. Even though I knew the next life was far off, I couldn't help but ask, Aran, if there's a next life, will you really come find me? I will. And if I don't remember you, don't be sad. Don't give up on me, you have to chase after me. Alright, but I'm afraid that in the next life, you might not love me anymore. No way. As long as you stand in front of me, I'll definitely love you. As long as it's you, I will always love you. Just like our first meeting, I fell in love with you at first sight. The end.